Go ahead and speak on this while I have the moment. Unfiltered Innerchild here. Look, one thing I love to do, y'all, I go on my walks. Unfiltered Innerchild. I go on my walks. I look at the flowers. I just do the simplest things. I pick up my pennies. I shake. It's like a reminder, money's on my path. I know, start hating because they add up. Anywho, but gratitude. So, let's give gratitude to Source, Creator, Most High, whatever you subscribe to. Unfiltered Childhood here. I'm going to jump right into it. Ooh, boy, it be a lot of strongholds when it comes to them friendships and partnership dynamics, where you have to really realize that some people are also unsafe for your inner child, in a sense of it doesn't matter the duration of the relationship. It doesn't matter for me. I'm gonna speak for me. When it comes to the fact of I literally just had to pretty much, I don't see it being restored or reconciliation or whatever, because of the simple fact of I don't think people realize how long or the duration when it comes to not even just betrayals. When you start to reflect and realize people's behavior reflect a lot of their belief systems, most likely abandonment issues or something, to where some type of abandonment. And everyone's different to how they will respond to certain things. But I personally have to, I actually wrote about it. And then, me being who I am, the Gemini moon, or I think the progressive moon is either Taurus or, I'm talking astrology here, Taurus or Virgo. So I'm going to look at this shit from every angle. For one, I'm going to look at the angle from why I choose to approach it, because at the same time, as I mentioned to the person, the only reason why I'm not approaching you face to face, which we have times to where we could have talked, but it's just the uncomfortability where after the fact of certain things have transpired, and then me seeing you, it's that weird ass uncomfortability of knowing somebody know that you really don't pluck with me. I don't pluck with you. Okay, I take everything as a sign. I see something in the yard. What is this? Of course, payday. I'll show you. I'm what do you call those people? Like attention to detail. I'm a very detailed person. Sport. I just saw a payday. Okay. Can you make it to your next payday? Whoa. I don't know what that means. Whoa. I'm gonna keep reading into that a little bit later. Can you make it to your next payday? That's interesting. Anywho. So, I basically in detail had to tell this person just something that I could no longer hold on to, and I did it in a very respectful manner. And that's just from my own internal growth, from my own personal experiences, and realizing for one, you can't control people. You can't make them be anything you want them to be. But a lot is said in silence. A lot is said in what's not being said, which is a clear indication to me that you're a liability because of how you navigate through conflict. Hey! You're a pretty rock roller. You're a puppy too. But basically how things are handled you know, and there was clear signs, plenty of signs before with this individual. And, it gets to a point where, again, you grow up in circumstances, childhood, and you don't know the importance of boundaries, or the boundaries have been blurred, or blurred boundaries, or however you want to say it. And you have to realize, like, there comes a point where you have to reassess those boundaries, or actually let this person know, because it'll continue. This pattern will continue where somebody has to hold someone accountable. And like I said, this was more so sitting around like almost like a brotherhood, or, we grew up together, childhood and so forth. And it grew into other things more than that. But what I could not ignore is the fact of, like, this person really got some serious healing and, accountability issues that eventually that's going to catch up to you. And I kind of put that in detail, when I was writing, but I didn't want to write too much in regard to talking to the person, because I just needed to say this is what it is and this is why. No longer, like I'm telling you, you don't fuck with me. And it was to the point where the person, we had experiences where they were recorded, like for promotion reasons and so forth. But to knowingly know that I don't interact, deal with you and so forth, and we have nothing, is so weird, so strange, however you want to perceive it, because it's like this unrequited, relationship in business or whatever, or brotherhood, whatever you want. It's so one-sided, and it's like it's giving off this image of almost like not just clout chasing, but this unhealthy attachment. And it's like a trauma bond, and I'm not going to trauma bond with you. I've come out of those, I had to mention to the person, like, we don't reflect this, we don't move the same. You don't fuck with me for real. Like, let's be honest, you don't. And those who know what I mean in detail, if you don't, I don't know if you whatever type of language barriers, or if you grew up in certain things and such, but don't F with me, meaning it's like you don't really rock with me like that. Like, meaning like you're not really as supportive as you perceive to be. So here you are still promoting years ago from videos, holding on to this idea of what we are, it could have been. Like, you holding on to this idea. And that's how some people don't know how to let things go. And then sometimes you have to clear the air. Sometimes you don't. But me personally, out of respect for myself, and plus I had to let this person know, like, there's so much details to it. But I just recognize a trauma bond that I wasn't refused to engage in. And that's from a personal relationship with myself, not taking it personal at all, but more so acknowledging the emotions behind it, alchemizing it, seeing the bigger picture, and recognizing the fact of, like, this is who you are, and this is exactly why I've outgrown this, because our belief systems, our core values are completely different. And I really told the person, like, your fate is in my hands, because there's some deep-seated things that you need to face. And for you to even think that from what you've done, especially pertaining to, and this is the inner child aspect, that's why I say it's unfiltered. The things that, someone close to you told me in regards to you, being the age that you were, and another, interacting with a child or someone who would be a minor. Just the fact of you're not trying to attempt to go get therapy, but continue cycles over a 10-year span as if nothing's going on. I myself wasn't a part of it. I knew that at a point in my life where I've always made, decisions to go bigger and beyond or expand. But you're ignoring the fact of this not being an issue. It's not only fucking scary, but it's more so the fact of you have children and then you have events with children. So this is why I say y'all don't realize the importance of when it comes to healing the inner child, when it comes to acknowledging what you went through and so forth. These are telltale signs. I feel like I'm on the fortunate side of things because of the fact of how I acknowledge what I've experienced, and then someone I can see what's unfortunately going to happen to these people, to them specifically. Like, how long are you going to keep lying to yourself about how deep that is? Even in the fact of other things dealing with like petty theft, certain things that I've experienced. And again, you are a liability, and also you are not to be not just trusted, but you got to think about these people who can be around you and you really know nothing about knowing like the vetting process, or even the fact of like you still will have to go through a vetting process. I don't give a fuck if I've known you for 20, 30 years and we don't speak on a daily basis. That's how intense this is for me when it comes to acknowledging and protecting my inner child and protecting my well-being overall and those closest to me. I'm not going to sit here and think shit is peaches and cream. No. I just realized that I had to let this person know you do not mention my name in anything because of whatever you're trying to promote. It clearly doesn't reflect the same image that you're trying to push, and especially what you're hiding from. Like, what? You're hiding from yourself. And now you built this identity around being enabled and empowered, this false empowerment, as if you're supportive. I know a lot of y'all can relate to that. People who go out here and do one thing, but in another way, you're false promoting like empowerment, especially empowerment around people who have been victimized or been sexually abused or something along that line. So for you not even to think that you need some type of assistance or support to navigate through that shit, and then somebody protecting your image, that shit's not cool at all to me. Not just only the fact of me having kids, but it's the fact of who else connected to me having kids. I gotta realize how, like how deep this is. I'm not protecting nobody's fucking image just to keep money in their pocket, a status, anything afloat. Because if you're not gonna address things and let me know that it's fucked up about me and let me know something, you're basically saying like, well, we're gonna go down this path together to self-destruct. And then you know how they say birds of a feather flock together. I'm not flocking with you, bro. I'm not flocking with a lot of y'all. Because y'all running from yourselves, and you're gonna keep running from yourself, and that shit gonna end up in tragedy. You cannot outrun karma. And the part about it, the anger I had around it, even through the message, because I wanted to make sure, like, I feel the anger, the rage, the internal shit around the fact of like, this is how I could approach it, but I'm gonna look at this shit practically instead of let my emotions get the best of me. But I'm gonna honor the emotions, but I'm not gonna let this shit get the best of me. I'm gonna honor it though. I'm gonna acknowledge how I feel, because those who know like, especially the individuals know like how we grew up. For one, you were not a fighter. 2, you know I was. 3, it's been a situation where it's like you don't want to feel like something's unrequited in the sense of like things being one-sided, where you protect this person and you're in their corner. And I had to express to the person like, this is the reason why moving forward, do not mention my name and remove all the videos pertaining to me, because whatever you're building, I will place an order of cease and desist. Cease and desist. I said that right. Decease. No, not decease. Oh shit. Cease and desist. Or, you know, basically, I know I'm saying the word right. What is the other one called? Because it's a little deeper when you research, because you go to trademarking and business, and, you know, to me, I feel like it's harmful for you to use me and my name, and it's no difference. And I saw someone recently that was an artist. There was an artist, and someone close to them, you know, got found out about, you know, similarly to, you know, some messing with minors. And I'm grateful for discernment, because somebody here need to see this shit to realize, like, bro, you think just hanging around someone and you really don't know nothing about what they into, know nothing about their childhood experiences and traumas and shit like that, and you don't care to think that that's important to know, like, why it is they have an attraction to certain shit, and why it is that they still hanging around this, why it is that they keep, it's a similar pattern, they don't want to evolve. Like, y'all got to know, like, bro, a lot of things are, they're knocking. A lot of things are clearly a recipe for disaster. Like I said, I had to express to the person, like, so what was the other term I was saying? Defamation of character, yeah. Now, I'm not saying this person is doing that, but when I think about what I'm building, my image, my identity, and everything around that, bro, I don't want to have no parts in associating with you when I know your secrets. Not even just your secrets, it's just like your deep insecurities or whatever it is. I don't want to have no parts in that. Because if you think that shit don't catches up with people and so forth, it's just like something comes out about the person. They're gonna be like, well, dang, wasn't such and such around him? One da 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 da. Fuck no. And that's what you gotta realize. Like, you'll come to that awareness, like, dang, I associated myself with this person. They was doing all this, they were doing all that. Because this person was around me at a time where, again, I used to drink a lot, or I used to go out and drink a lot and then get triggered and then react in an unhealthy way. They were there part of, like, you know, a lot of my being triggered and, you know, trauma responses, because that's something I'm not ashamed of. But what I can say is that person was definitely not encouraging me to move on from that. And that's how I start to realize, oh, this shit really was a trauma bomb, because the person I was dating at the time, they were even trying to convince me to you know, believe that, you know, this person and that person has went through similar things and we'll be all right. And I'm like, bro, now had it been like we can go to therapy or something like that, or really see what's going on, even more so, it's just like that whole situation ended in something even more tragic, because it didn't get better. And the same individual is right there. So it's, again, it does play a major part in who you're keeping around and for what reason. And why they are around. How many people question, like, why is this person around and for what? And I start to see that even with the distance, how more so like it's like they were still attached to the idea of me, but never could talk to me. Like, never, after years of things that have transpired with us, that's what, again, would become unsafe. It's like, it just shows how this person moved on, which, again, we had similar patterns. You got to start recognizing patterns where moving on without resolving the issue. Like I said, that relationship I was in with that other person, like, I moved on, moved all the way across the country. And at the time, that person, you know, was pretty much kind of like we were going out doing certain stuff and all like that, but it was I start to recognize deeply like this is good. How like the trauma bond, you know how some people can try to vicariously live to you or in a way like try to mimic you. I almost seen like how this person aspired to be me, but at the same time it was a deep jealousy or resentment there because of I felt like the attention that I got, you know, and so forth, because no matter what I did, I was prosperous in what I did. Now, certain patterns I start to recognize too, like that led me back down the same path. I was like, yo, what is it that I'm not seeing? And I start to recognize again, your surroundings, the people, are they even encouraging you to get out of said situation? And I start to recognize that wasn't a person. This person wasn't that. And that wasn't, again, over time, as I gradually came into this knowingness of protecting my inner child, I could see clearly now, like, as I start to evolve and heal, they still monitor and pay very close to me, but were still not supportive as I was when I was around them. They were, again, a part of the problem of the trauma bond. They were familiar with just that. And when someone doesn't do the inner work, when it comes to the inner child, they'll think that it's comfortable, or they literally have built the identity around the trauma bond to where now they're forced to heal. So that's the thing that became the danger in this individual, is that throughout all this time watching me, or, you know, and this goes for a lot of people you can recognize, throughout all this time, you didn't take time out to really see what was going on with you, or really go get some type of support and help mentally and so forth. And then again, I had to get, you know, information through, you know, somebody that was close to them, and I was in utter disbelief to see like, dang, this person treated you like this. So I'm like, this is deeper. Once you recognize like people are really going through something deeper mentally, and they just become so comfortable and complacent with the same patterns and so forth, that sometimes you can be the guiding light out. And then sometimes they don't even recognize what they see. I mean, recognize what they're doing until someone actually reveals to them. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I also start to accept more too. Like, everybody not meant to go. They have their own path, and they also have free will. They also have free will and the opportunity to heal and so forth. Not to mention, that's a whole nother spiritual warfare, or whatever spiritually is attached to them, that they don't know how to get out of, or they don't, you know, it's a deep thing, man. You go through so many different layers when you go through healing. Like you go through the unresolved memories, emotions, and so forth around situations that people run from it. And they run from it by going through the same thing. I just felt like I know I handled it the best way I could, because, you know, it doesn't hurt. I think it's more so the fact of like, I could see the familiarity in like some patterns that I had, and also being able to relate to the fact of the person dealing with some deep-seated trauma. And it also revealed to me to show how people who were not supportive, who also, like, even in the hometown, even in these environments, were also like it's sickening to see the trauma bonds, bro. It's so fucking deep. When you really start to take a step away from people, and you realize like most of the shit that people have and created, like collectively, this shit is really sitting around trauma bond. No shade to people who drank stuff, but when I'm saying like trying to escape, when I saw my patterns then, I realized it wasn't the people, it was not just the people, it was the energy, it was the focus around like, damn, even the person I was dating then, that person was around too, like when I was going out, I was like, just all the people surrounding me during that time. I'm talking about family members, all that stuff. Shit, the girl I was dating at the time, like, I'm trying to think, dude. We had went through something that made us, like, I had to go stay with my mom for a little bit. And again, it was just similar to where the identity I had and I created and so forth, but it was still centered around so much fucking trauma bonding. I feel like so many ways that people can feel they're connected to you in any way, but what really reveals itself, any way they can stay connected to you through trauma, they'll do it. Somebody needed that. Because when you're in a child, when you have experienced trauma or some type of childhood trauma experience and so forth, traumatic experience, people either stay around and you'll recognize the energy, like how they're unhealthily attached to you or monitor you through that very connection. Now, notice once I start shifting and changing and healing, I start to become very clear on this connection that was sexually, trauma, this connection that was connected to financial abuse, this connection that was more geared towards, like, emotional instability, so many different things. Like, it became so more and more clear as I moved away. And I was the only one that could do the inner work. It's nothing I can change about these persons, these people. Even with the fact of, like, me saying this to this individual, there's a part of me closing out a chapter, or even the energy to that, because, I've mentioned before, when you're dealing with traumas and stuff and you internalize things that are unresolved and so forth, you can either alchemize it in different ways. Like for me, my writings, through communication, through something. And that's something that, we didn't learn very young. Like, in a way of, like, when something bothers you or this and this, the trauma bond to have you continue thinking like, oh, that's still my homeboy, it's still this and that and this, da-da-da-da-da. But you know how many people I know that really went through some traumatic shit? They had people around them that was jealous, and then somebody ended up getting unalive, somebody smiling right in their face. And I almost feel like the fact of, like I told you about this person, that when I say how, like, they was, when we were around each other, and this goes back to abandonment wounds, and I realized, like, they had a deep-seated abandonment wound, and that's the thing that protects you, because, again, this person can be so focused on getting attention, and that's why I realized how they built what they created, and this is from experience, lived experience. When you go through abandonment wounds and stuff like that, or you go through, like, you will build, like, what you think is an empire or whatever it is from that very insecurity, from that very void. And I literally watched this person do that, because, again, as I shift my perspective towards healing, acknowledging internal things, you got to realize that's uncomfortable for people. And it ain't, I'm not talking about just the growth. I'm talking about it can bring up triggers. It can bring up things to where they didn't even know that, man, this resonates. But you know what? I'm going to stay over here. I'm going to chill over here. Not realizing, like, this is basically something that can be life-changing for you. Or this can be something that shifts your whole perspective. But again, I get more and more depth of even the fact of closing out that I don't feel shame and guilt around none of it, because I realize, like, again, I recognize the depths as a man, because the individual is a man too, but I see the little boy. When the person told me that what they really went through growing up, I was like, yeah, they definitely dealing with abandonment wounds. And sometimes that's how you can be calmer for people. You don't even realize what you're going through, and then somebody comes along and just drop this bomb on you. And that's why it can be so dangerous, like people who are being sexually abused or abandoned and stuff, and they get into this question of sexuality and around, the shame and guilt around these things. And then you start to hear these, these allegedly, like, what you call them, rumors or something. And I think that was kind of one thing that I realized, and I could be just making an assumption here, but I feel like, because somebody had told me, but I don't see it not to kind of be true, because when you're dealing with sexual trauma, as a man, I went through this. You question not only your sexuality, but you're allowing lust to just place you in a lot of positions where you don't have no control of your desires. So now you're trying to sneakily be on the down low. Because I caught wind through someone telling me, like, yeah, da-da-da-da, this and this and this. And, I was like, okay. And that was during the time where the person was on the low as well, trying to tell me some things. And I was like, okay. And they was like, I'm surprised he ain't tried you. I'm like, what you mean? But I think some people just know that. And that's why I say, like, man, abandonment wounds, bro. That shit will put you in some uncompromising positions to where you'll just be around people just for the fuck of it. Like, just for the hell of it. You don't even, it's wild. Like, no sense of identity, no sense of self-esteem. It's just rooted in low self-esteem. Again, research these things. Low self-esteem, you'll settle for so much. You'll settle for the bare minimum. You'll settle with just accepting this behavior from this person, And it's sad because it really shows you how whatever the person went through young is very traumatic. Like I said, I could just get more clarity on the situation with the person. I feel like I was more of an inspiration. And when I start going towards different things, it's not to say it didn't inspire them. I think it just really exposed the fact of, like, how they were not so much just monitoring, but so much of, like, when I say bi-curiously living through someone, it's like almost like trying to build their identity around them. I noticed this a lot when I was young, because I've always had that confidence to not be a follower. And when I tried to, it's like I couldn't go down that road. It was immediately met with a blockages, or the divine was like, this is not you. You have a bigger mission. And that's why I'm able to tell my stories through my lived experiences, because it's no way in shape or form that I was built to be a follower. I was built to lead. And that's just naturally what it is. That's why I be feeling early to a lot of things, because I realized, like, in your being a follower, sometimes you have to take the lead, and take the lead in a way to where it's like, that ain't working for you, trying to be a part of the crowd and so forth. So I feel like that's happened a lot with me, with the confidence or with the attention that I got when I was around certain people. It's like some people couldn't accept their role in not being, I guess they feel, in the spotlight, or not having the attention. What I realized, it was rooted in abandonment. It's like they felt like they had to have the spotlight and so forth. And I gradually saw this and peeped this after, removing myself, to where it's like you show someone the ropes, but then you also show them, like, hey, bro, like, this ain't the move no more. Like, I ain't moving like this no more, and so forth. And some people don't take that lightly when you move on. Some people can take it again. You know what? It reveals their abandonment issues. That's what I was getting at. It reveals the abandonment issues that they've been dealing with, that they internalized. And that's how I realized, like, a lot of connections became unrequited, or just the fact of, like, a falling out, or how people could never come out, because when they don't address what's going on within them, especially like if you dealt with childhood abandonment and so forth, they really don't know how. So it's almost like I have to have empathy for the person, but I have to have what they call it, like the emotional empathy, but not to lose myself in the idea. And I feel like that's what that person. I'm as I'm talking about this, I'm getting clarity as I'm saying it. Because I notice this every time, like I close out something with someone to complete something, that I get this deep clarity and so forth. But I noticed that, like, the fact of, again, when people realize they cannot vicariously live through you no more in what you're doing, because they get caught up in getting the attention. You know, they think that, and that's when people refuse to evolve. They get caught up in that cycle, because what it does, like I said, it reveals who they've been all along. Man, now that I think about it, like I said, that connection years ago I was with someone, if even in myself, how I met the person, because I was on my way to go play basketball. You know, I had got an offer and so forth, and then something wasn't adding up. Then I had called this person, this girl, and that's how we just all of a sudden like clicked. And you know, from there, I just end up like staying with it, and then went on from there. Like, all of these patterns be showing me like a lot of my abandonment wounds, bro. I could not ignore it no more. Like, leading all the way up to even my children, like a lot of the things I start to realize had a lot to do with my own internal battles, my own emotional and mental and, you know, physical abandonment, my mother wounds and so forth. And this played out too through, I see now with the father wound that a lot of men probably had. And it's not to say people didn't want brotherhood and build on stuff. Some people just don't know how. And that's the thing where, again, it's just years ago past where people don't feel like these things are important. They are. They become important because you have to let them down easily, to where you have to be honest with people. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you know, because I've seen you consistently stay in the same pattern. So therefore, I'm sitting here like we're just we're in two different headspaces. We're not like-minded. You're still doing similar things. And then I caught wind to like even the monitoring aspect, because there was someone we knew mutually, and I was about to do something, and all of a sudden this person just come out with the same thing, because most likely the person